Hey, Connect Groups, I hope all of you are doing well. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for being committed to your groups. Thank you for taking your group seriously. And that is the feedback we get, that you really are wrestling with the truths that we're dealing with as a church on Sunday. You're taking these truths, you're wrestling with them, but then you're applying them to your life to find value in them. So for me, as a teacher and as a lead pastor, it really does touch my heart to know that we have so many people that are taking their discipleship seriously. So again, thank you so much, and I really am proud of you. So here's what I want to do. I want to do a quick review of Sunday, but then I also want to give just some other thoughts as an encouragement, as some kind of parameters for this discussion, because it really does have the potential to go in a direction I don't want it to go. So here's the quick review. As we concluded our series, we were looking at the reality that we all become a part of different tribes. This is just a natural, it's not even an unhealthy thing. So sometimes when we talk about the rhythms of culture, we think that what I'm saying is it's unhealthy. It's not. We get a part of community. It's what we naturally do. We find people who think like us, speak like us, have the same interest of us, and we connect to them. We relationally connect because we are relational beings. What then happens that can be a negative is because these groups add so much value to our lives that we start to take on the values of the group and they start to supersede everything else. So the group becomes so important to us, the values, that it becomes the number one way that it shapes the way that we think and the way that we act. Now that's not of most of the tribes that we're a part of, because you can be part of a certain hobby or a certain interest group and it's not really going to dominate your life. But when we start talking about things that we become passionate about, like politics is the main one that I think we often think of, that can be controlling of the way that we think and act in our value system. And so we were looking at that dynamic. When we become a part of tribes and then someone attacks our tribes, what we naturally do is we try to defend them. That becomes the purpose of our life. We want to defend what we love and who we love, the value it adds to our life, because we don't want it to be changed because it means so much to us. But what we looked at Sunday is when we enter into a relationship with Jesus because we believe what he said, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. When we enter into that relationship, we are entering into his tribe, into the body of Christ, his community, and that has to supersede all other tribes. That Jesus, his purpose, what he was called to do here on earth, what he calls us to do, his purpose has to become our purpose, and his method has to become our method. So what was Jesus' purpose here on earth? He said it. He said the Son of Man came to seek and to save those who are lost. He came so that the lost, the sinners, could be redeemed by entering into a relationship with God. Now, friends, hear me, because we will lose sight of this. This is the number one purpose of our lives. Every single relationship in our life should be purposed toward what God has called us to do, leading people toward God. Even in our parenting, in our marriages, in our friendships, in our business interactions, everything has to be for the same purpose. We want people to know God, to be in a relationship with God. Now, we have things that fall under that we have to do. We still need to parent well and take care of our kids' needs. We still need to work well in our jobs. We still need to behave well in our marriages. There are many subordinate things to that, but the primary purpose and focus has to be, how can, through my behavior, I lead this person closer toward God? That's the purpose. But what's the method? Well, we looked at that in week 2. The method always has to be grace and truth. Not one time one and one time the other, half one, half the other. It is all grace, all truth, all the time. And when we have this mindset, this becomes the way that we interact with other people. This also must become the way that we defend the things that are really valuable in our lives. We have to think, though this thing that I want to protect, and it can be good. Like we looked at the politics in our country. We can love our country. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way to add value to our country is for our country to know God. The way that we can add value in those interactions is for us to model grace and truth. This is what we're called to do. When we understand that, then our role in every single tribe that we're a part of becomes healthier. We add greater value when we understand our calling and the method God has called us to model to the world. So, your political party needs you to model Jesus, right? Your family needs you to model Jesus. Your community needs you to model Jesus. Okay, that was a quick review. Here's my request of you is it will be very easy for groups to start to discuss politics, start to debate things. I'm asking you to avoid that like the plague, okay? Avoid that because nothing beneficial will come from that. Here's a dynamic, and I don't mean this to stir controversy. Whenever I speak about these things or on social media, if I post, and I could say something as simple as, remember, above all other things in politics, God called us to love. I could post something like that. No one needs to argue with that, right? Yet every single time, people feel the need to add a little disclaimer to it. And they think they're sounding super spiritual. Friends, they're not. My statement didn't need an addition to it. And people will put a disclaimer. Well, don't forget, we're called to fight against the injustices of the world. Okay, I don't want that to be the discussion in your group. Why? Because it's not going to go anywhere beneficial. What I want each one of you to do, the same thing that I do in my life, is how does this truth challenge you to love better? How does this truth challenge you to model Jesus better to your tribes and your community? How does it challenge you to offer grace and truth in a more distinct way to your community? So let's not debate, let's not talk about politics, let's have some safe parameters on that, but let's grow in our discipleship and our love for each other. Again, I love you guys, so proud of you. See you on Sunday.